the sight, the sound, all of it, but it's that image in your head. You guys know what I'm talking about? So that, crossed with your state and your physiology, all of those intertwine and produce a behavior. The thing is that everybody goes through this, which means every time you say something, you are processing all of the information through your filters and creating an internal representation and communicating that. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and that's just the visual. And yet we think that if I say, if everyone in here, raise your hand if you guys can close your eyes and picture a red car. Okay? Red car, who can do it? Everyone. Okay, do you all agree that we know what a red car is? Yeah? Okay, I want everyone to close your eyes for just a second, and I want you to imagine a red car. Okay, close your eyes and imagine a red car. I want you to remember this red car, and I want you to remember it vividly. I want you to open your eyes. How many of you had a two-door? Okay, for some of you. How many of you had a convertible? Okay, there's a few of you. How many of you had a manual? Okay, so we all agreed that in what we were talking about, we all had a different car in our head. But we all agreed it was a red car, right? But it's a different color red, different make, different model. There's gaps in our communication all of the time because people process the information and it comes in, but it processes through their filters. You're never going to be able to stop processing and quit projecting. The way we talk about it in NLP is perception is projection. What you see around you is a projection of your internal representation and filters. If you have somebody that you think is angry at you all the time, sometimes you need to reflect and say, what is it about what I'm doing that I'm not congruent with? Sometimes you look outside of you and you start seeing behaviors and ideas, and it's like, well, wow, this seems to keep coming up again and again and again, and all of a sudden you realize there's a lesson that you've not learned yet. So with this, we process, like I said, about 126. This says 134. Like I said, the numbers change. Basic premises is we lose a lot. So now what about when we're setting goals? Because this is something that Robert said that you guys were going to be working on today, is kind of setting a direction and an aim for this next year. How many of you guys have heard of SMART goals? Okay. So I hate SMART goals. I absolutely hate SMART goals because I feel like it's redundant to have it attainable, realistic, and achievable, and it's like they're all the same word. So I've changed SMART a little bit. I keep it as the acronym, but I don't like the typical words. So we have specific. You guys need to be detailed and make sure that you have what it is that you're looking for. It's measurable. That's another good one. I like to keep it measurable because that way you're really able to tell if you're getting what you want. I like to tweak a little bit. When you're setting your goal, first off, set it as if now. In a little bit, we're going to be doing an exercise where you guys are going to sit down and have a conversation with somebody. And the conversation isn't going to be a typical conversation of this is what I want to achieve next year. I'm going to ask you guys to sit down across the table from somebody having a cup of coffee a year from now. And I want you to step into that role and right now say, this is what we've done over the last year. This is what I've accomplished. And I'll go over the steps later, but we're going to step in and do it as if now. I want you guys to live and experience those goals. Also, they need to be actionable. A lot of people say timed or time-bound for the T, but I like to go ahead and throw it in with the A because you need to have actionable steps. Your goals, if they're so big that you can't break them down into actionable steps, they're dreams, they're aims. Those aren't bad to have, but in order to have workable goals, you need to be able to break it down into timed, actionable steps. I'm going to do this by this date, this time. We have the R, which is typically realistic. Now, if you're setting goals that aren't realistic, then you probably don't understand what the point of a goal is. So we're just going to assume you do understand what the point of a goal is, and we'll keep them all realistic and just assume that. So the next R that I'd like to propose is rewarded. As you guys are working on your goals, make sure that you're rewarding yourself as you're accomplishing them. Don't set your goal at 100% and only celebrate when you get there. See, the thing is, let's see where to put that pen. Let's say this is a bell curve. Okay, typical bell curve, horrible drawing, that's okay. This right here is 70%. That's passing. Most people set goals right here. And if they don't miss, if they don't get it, if they miss the goal by simply 1%, then they fail. They don't achieve a passing score. Instead, if you aim all the way over here, if you aim at excellence and you miss by 10%, your failure will be a greater success than somebody else's successful goal. So when you're setting a goal, what I want you to do is I want you to aim for excellence, but reward yourself at 90%. When you reach 90% of your goal, that's the time to celebrate because you've made substantial progress moving forward. And it's time to set the next goal. Because if you don't have a goal, if you don't have something you're moving towards, then you're not consistently moving in the right direction. Which leads to the T, which is normally time, but we've already covered that with actionable. So for me, I'd like to talk to you about towards and away from values. How many people here has ever set a health and a fitness goal? Okay. I've set numerous health and fitness goals, and I've fluctuated up and down, and until recently, I haven't been seeing consistent results. And one of the reasons why is because I didn't want to be fat. I didn't want to be overweight. I didn't want my clothes not to fit. And I would move away from what I didn't want. And if you look at a magnet, you have two magnets at the same polarity. If you put them right next to each other, they're going to push away. But the further away you get, the less push there is to keep moving. It's the same thing with the goal. If you're moving away from something, the further you get from it, I'll never be that fat again. The difference is if you start to go back, the push isn't there anymore. It drops completely. Which is why I move away from goals consistently have inconsistent results. Instead, what I did most recently was I set a goal to be healthy and fit. So I start with the actionable. Well, I want to be able to do a 5K. Well, I did the Warrior Dash. That was fun. But because I was able to do the Warrior Dash, I couldn't get all the running, but I got the obstacles. And man, now I need to do the running. So I signed up for the Shamrock Run because that's the next goal. Is because once I achieved something towards my goal, I felt more empowered. I felt more drive to accomplish it, and it made me work even harder. So when you're setting your goals, you want it to be towards what you want, as opposed to away from what you don't want. In life, you guys we're looking for results. That's where I am in my life, is that the bottom line is that course doesn't matter as long as I achieve results. And I'm taking from you guys are looking for the same thing. You guys have ideas of what you want this organization, what you want this school, what you want in your personal lives, what you guys want to accomplish. A plane leaving from Los Angeles International Airport, LAX, flying to Kona, KOA, the Big Island, okay? If it is off track by 1%, it misses the Hawaiian Islands by over 600 miles altogether. Like, you won't even see the Hawaiian Islands.